We often believe we understand the nuanced languages of human emotion. Yet sometimes, the pain of a voiceless creature is too plain, requiring no translation. It transcends the barrier of species and strikes directly at the heart. This is the story of Coco, a magnificent western lowland gorilla residing at the Oakwood Sanctuary on the outskirts of Texas, where she had spent most of her life. Coco, at 12 years old, was the soul of the sanctuary, energetic, intelligent, and always curiously interacting with her surroundings. But over the past few months, that lively light had begun to dim. Coco became lethargic, heavy, lying prostrate and barely able to lift herself from the cold floor of her enclosure. Her abdomen was alarmingly swollen, not with the healthy roundness of a late-stage pregnancy, but with the painful, unbearable heaviness of a burden she couldn't carry. The zookeepers vehemently insisted everything was fine. They repeatedly claimed she was merely going through a difficult final stage of pregnancy. But Coco was not acting like a mother-to-be. Gorillas are pregnant for about 8.5 months, but Coco had long surpassed that milestone, and instead of preparing for new life, she was struggling with her own. Her movements were weak, her breathing shallow, and her eyes were filled only with despair. The audience and animal lovers began to feel that something was profoundly wrong, a truth being hidden and ignored behind superficial reassurances. Coco's suffering was a silent plea, an urgent warning that those responsible were deliberately overlooking. The reassurances from the Oakwood Sanctuary management began to ring hollow as their statements were contrasted with reality. Primate experts around the world started speaking out. The average gestation period for a gorilla is about 8.5 months. Coco was in her 10th month, and the signs she exhibited were of debilitation, not preparation for birth. With each passing day, her condition worsened. She almost completely stopped eating, became dehydrated, and was alarmingly emaciated, a stark contrast to her unusually large belly. Then, the story found an amplifier. It was Sarah, a young community activist, who visited Oakwood and filmed a video of Coco. With tearful eyes and a voice trembling with helplessness, she posted the story on social media, tagging major conservation organizations. Sarah's post quickly went viral, attracting millions of views and shares. The comments were filled with worry, anger, and, above all, compassion. The public refused to accept the zoo's generic excuses for a creature close to death. Amidst the escalating tension, a glimmer of hope appeared. It was Dr. Elias Thorne, a renowned wildlife veterinarian specializing in complex surgeries for endangered species, working at a reputable animal hospital in the Colorado region. Dr. Thorne watched Sarah's video and immediately grasped the severity of the situation. He offered to come to Oakwood immediately, providing his expertise and services completely free of charge, with a single purpose: to save Coco. However, Dr. Thorne's benevolence met a wall of bureaucracy and denial. Mr. Harlan, the executive director of Oakwood, outright refused Dr. Thorne's request, citing internal procedures and a concern that the presence of a stranger would stress Coco. Mr. Harlan wanted to control the narrative, attempting to keep the secret hidden behind the sanctuary's iron gates. But the community refused to back down. Hundreds, then thousands of people began organizing a peaceful yet determined protest outside the gates of the Oakwood Sanctuary. This was not an angry mob, but a persistent force composed of families, students, and conservationists. They held handwritten posters with messages: "We trust Dr. Thorne," and "Coco deserves care." The pressure of public opinion grew immense, strong enough to force local police to intervene to maintain order and, simultaneously, demand that the Oakwood management address Coco's health issues transparently. The convergence of community compassion and Dr. Thorne's expertise finally created an undeniable pressure. Under duress from the police and media scrutiny, the Oakwood Sanctuary was forced to concede. They agreed to allow Dr. Thorne access, but only with strict limitations, paving the way for a tense confrontation. Under the close supervision of Director Harlan, Dr. Elias Thorne was finally allowed into Coco's enclosure. The first thing that struck him was not the sanctuary's grandeur, but the astonishing filth and neglect. Coco lay huddled in a corner, pitifully thin, her coat dull, and her eyes vacant and lifeless. The area where she lay was a chaotic mess of feces, spoiled food, and stale water, a terrible contrast to the image of a world-class sanctuary. Dr. Thorne cautiously began his general examination. He found Coco's heartbeat weak and irregular, her body temperature low, and clear signs of severe dehydration and malnutrition. As he conducted the checks, Mr. Harlan constantly hovered, trying to control the information, continuously asserting that Coco only needed a dose of vitamins and rest, while refusing to provide any complete medical records about her. Dr. Thorne's primary goal was to perform an ultrasound. When he requested the equipment, Mr. Harlan offered every excuse. The machine was being calibrated, broken, or anesthesia could stress Coco. The confrontation was intense, but Dr. Thorne, who was prepared, knew he needed undeniable physical evidence. In a brief moment, while Mr. Harlan was busy on the phone, a young Oakwood veterinary technician who had been following Coco's plight with genuine worry secretly pulled Dr. Thorne aside. Her voice was trembling, filled with fear. "Doctor, something is wrong. They have moved several other animals in the night, and they absolutely do not want Coco to be saved." Then, the young woman dropped the coldest confession. The internal vet suggested to the management that it would be simpler to humanely euthanize Coco to avoid a public scandal, and then buy a new gorilla. They see her as an asset to be liquidated. This truth hit Dr. Thorne hard. Anger flared, but he controlled it, turning it into iron determination. He realized this was no longer mere negligence. This was cruelty masked by convenience. Dr. Thorne confronted Mr. Harlan and delivered a decisive ultimatum. Either allow him to perform the ultrasound and comprehensive diagnosis immediately, or he would publicly disclose all evidence of the neglect and the inhumane proposal he had just heard to the police and media, an action that would lead to the immediate closure of the entire Oakwood sanctuary. Facing the choice between saving Coco or facing the collapse of his organization, Mr. Harlan was finally forced to yield. Under strict observation, Dr. Thorne and the medical team quickly prepared to perform an emergency ultrasound. They had to act fast and precisely because Coco was so weak. As the ultrasound probe glided over her abdomen, the screen showed no image of a fetus. There were no small bone structures, no movement, and most worryingly, no fetal heartbeat. Despite Coco's severe swelling, Dr. Thorne noticed a dense, obscure mass inside. He rechecked Coco's heartbeat. It was still irregular and weak, but there were not two heartbeats. He flipped through the ultrasound angles, adjusted the contrast, and then the moment of horrifying truth was revealed. Dr. Thorne was speechless. He leaned closer to his assistant and whispered, his voice filled with horror and disappointment. "This is not a pregnancy. This is an obstruction, a massive foreign body." Coco's swelling and false pregnancy signs were not because she was awaiting a new life, but due to the accumulation of undigested food, waste, and unknown materials that had completely blocked her digestive system for months. This truth was even more brutal than the initial suspicion. There was no time for further arguments. Dr. Thorne immediately declared a state of emergency and demanded preparation for Coco's transport to his specialized animal hospital. He needed a sterile environment, full equipment, and a team of experts to perform the complex surgery. With pressure from the public and the police intervention order, the Oakwood management was forced to cooperate. The transport process was fraught with high tension. Coco was carefully stabilized and moved into a specialized ambulance. In Dr. Thorne's operating room, the race against death began. He and his team opened Coco's abdomen, facing a chaotic and horrifying sight. Her stomach and intestines were severely impacted, filled with old and decaying matter. After many hours of meticulous surgery, Dr. Thorne found the true source of Coco's prolonged suffering. A large, hard piece of plastic, the size of a dinner plate, lodged deep in her digestive tract, causing a complete obstruction. This plastic piece was likely packaging material for fruit or vegetables that the zoo staff had carelessly failed to remove entirely when feeding Coco. It was not a biological tragedy, not a natural disease. It was a completely preventable oversight. A senseless piece of plastic, due to irresponsibility, had been suffocating the life out of a beautiful creature from the inside. This exposed truth not only saved Coco, but also served as irrefutable proof of the systemic negligence at the Oakwood Sanctuary. The miracle began. After the long and risky surgery, Coco fought for her life. At Dr. Thorne's specialized hospital, she received the most dedicated and meticulous care. We followed her recovery journey, from the moment she first drank water without vomiting to the day she weakly stood up on her own 2 feet, a moment that seemed impossible. Coco's recovery was not just a medical triumph, but a testament to her inner strength and ability to overcome adversity. Dr. Thorne did not just save Coco. He used the irrefutable evidence he gathered and presented it to federal authorities and animal protection organizations. An investigation was launched. The outcome: Mr. Harlan and the Oakwood management were immediately fired, and after confirming multiple cases of systemic animal neglect, the sanctuary's operating license was permanently revoked. Justice was served. Upon her full recovery, Coco was moved to a new permanent home, the Redwood Primate Sanctuary, a recognized facility with the highest standards of animal care. There, she was carefully introduced to a small group of other gorillas. The last image we see is Coco exploring a lush, expansive, natural area under the sun, finally finding the safety, connection, and love she deserved. Coco's story is not just about a saved gorilla. It is a powerful reminder of the strength of community and the collective responsibility we hold towards voiceless creatures. When thousands of people come together with compassion, they can overturn indifference and hold negligent organizations accountable. Compassion is an action verb. Sometimes the people you trust the most are not the solution, and it is your voice, amplified by others, that can create change. If Coco's story touched you, turn your emotions into action. Like the video to spread hope and justice. Comment the name of an ethical sanctuary you admire to honor good work. Finally, subscribe to the channel to continue the journey of seeking connection and hope with us.